All right, let's get a new 30-minute game going. The black pieces. 24, 1c6. Playing the caro-kann. Our opponent takes full control of the center. We get the advanced variation. Well done. We'll get our bishop out. In this case, normally what I like to do if we have our pawn pushed to e6 and knight out to e7, I like to allow them to take so we can trade on our own terms. But in this case, I think it's better to just trade light square bishops. Go ahead and close up our center. We need homes for our dark squared bishop and our knight. The knight can't move to f6, which is guarded by this pawn. So the good square for the knight is on e7, but then that hems in the dark squared bishop, and the dark square doesn't have anywhere good to go. e7 is where the knight wants to go. These two are no good. And then b4 runs into c3. So I think what we do here is just push c5 immediately. If they take, we can take back, and then find a way to support our bishop should we need. Otherwise, we can take, and then we can get our bishop out onto c5, which is a nice, usable square for our bishop. This also opens up the c6 square for our queenside knight, which is just a good developing square there. Also considering delaying taking here. Get our knight out, get our queen out to b6, and then being able to just capture this pawn wholesale. So rather than just trading pawns, like trade, adding enough defenders to this d4 square that we could just take it. But they take, we'll take back. Oh, this doesn't work, does it? Oh no, this is fine. So if they play queen out to b5, we have knight to d7, blocking the check and protecting our bishop. We may lose this b7 pawn, but I think that's all right. Let's try to... Should we get castled first? I think maybe queen to b6 now is a stronger move to prevent ideas of their queen coming out with check. We could also play a6, but b6 is a place that we want our queen anyways. So let's move out there. Then we can get our knight developed. Then we can get castled. Very eager to get castled now that we have this sort of hole on c6. So we'll do that. This is looking good. They play knight out to b3, maybe wanting to hit our bishop here. That seems fine. If we need to add another defender, we have knight to d7, adding another defender to this bishop. So let's go ahead and get castled. They take, we can take back. You know, I don't like that move as much as I thought I did. I really like our dark square bishop in the caro, because we've got all of our pawns on light squares. So I think I would prefer to hang on to it. Doesn't look like it's an option right now, unfortunately. They take, we take back. We'll get our knight out to c6 next. Potentially a dangerous spot to have our queen. If they play something like b3, they could get their... Well, their bishop would be undefended, so they can't do that right now, but something I want to be wary of. Maybe if they do like a3, bishop to d2, and then bishop to b4, that could be a little bit of a danger, hitting this unprotected knight over here. I would like to get our knight out to e5, sort of a nice outpost for that knight. I would also like to We develop this other knight to c6, developing one of our last pieces and then getting our rooks connected. There are plans that we might have. h6, never a bad idea, preventing this idea of knight out to g5, which could be sort of an ugly maneuver that I don't want to see. Perhaps queen up to b4 or back to b6, threatening this pawn and sort of either forcing them to play b3 or pinning their dark squared bishop into place because it's the only defender of that pawn. This is sort of a nice middle point of the game. We're getting ready to finish our development. Our opponent just has one piece left to develop. They have a little bit of breathing room with which to make a decision. This looks very dangerous. Knight out to g5, and then queen takes on h7 checkmate. Something to look out for there. How would we respond to that? Knight to g5. H6 doesn't do anything. That still allows checkmate. G6 is an option that doesn't kick away the knight, but it does prevent the queen's access to the h7 square. We could also play knight to e5, blocking the queen's access. So let's analyze our candidate moves. Of the two, I don't see anything else that can defend against the threat of queen takes h7 checkmate. So of the two, I think I prefer knight to e5 because it doesn't ruin the pawn structure in front of our king. And they also have this idea, if they got their knight back out of the way, they have this idea of if we push g6, bishop to h6, threatening our rook, and then sort of just this unpleasant mating net guarding all these squares. And if they get something on the back rank, then we are doomed. So something to be wary of. Other ideas, knight to g5, queen to... Well, I guess if they do knight to g5, oops, and we play knight to e5, or knight to f5, they can no longer play queen to g3, sort of x-raying our king, because our knight would be defending that square. And to be honest, I am sort of spinning my wheels a little bit. Our opponent is taking a long time to make their next maneuver. I don't want to overthink our position. It's not that complicated. You know, nice defensive structure here. No immediate danger. Yeah, I might just sort of sit in silence. I think I've done all the analysis that I would like to do. Wait for our opponent to play a move. I am willing to sit here for 23 more minutes and let our opponent run out the clock. Feels fine by me. Although maybe at 20 minutes, I will give the page a refresh just to see if there was some error on the chess.com servers. There we go. We've got bishop to e3, which I think is a strong move, hitting our queen. I say we drop back to c6 or c7, adding, and then prepare to play knight to c6. I think b6 and c7 are both very natural squares for the queen, especially in the caro. So we'll just drop back here, develop our knight, and then maybe get our rook out onto c8 to take advantage of this open file. Maybe knight out to g5, in which case we have knight to f5, which I think is a strong move. Knight to f5, and then I don't know if I would consider taking this bishop here. I think the issue for me with that is they take back with their pawn, and then suddenly they have the f file open for attacking, which I think could be dangerous. We're both castled kingside, so I don't necessarily want to open that up unless it's on my own terms. Now, knight. Okay. They move their rook out to e2. I think that's a good move, potentially adding another defender to this somewhat vulnerable e5 pawn. I think that's a weakness in our opponent's position. Looking at potentially knight out to g6 to add another defender if needed. Yeah. So now they have 1, 2, 3 defenders on it. And then I would only have 1, 2, 3 attackers. So looking like less of an option right now. One thing that I see that is sort of appealing is knight out to b4, hitting their queen, and then knight takes on c2, hitting both of their rooks, potentially undefended by the queen, depending on where their queen moves to. But first, I would like to play a developing move, rook to c8. Well, I guess rook to c8. We potentially lose this pawn. Maybe I'll just push this pawn up 1. They only have a dark squared bishop. So having our pawns on light squares feels a little bit like a superpower. I like that. Here, this looks a little bit better. Knight takes on d4, because that doesn't open up the f file for attacking. It's an even trade. And it clears their dark squared bishop off the table, which I think is going to be pretty strong in this case. I would still like to play rook to c8 first, hoping to threaten this idea here. It's a good move. Let's go ahead and play this. Knight to b4, hitting their queen. They may move out this way, which could be dangerous. So we would no longer be... Yeah. Maybe this was a mistake. Push this pawn up 1 more and turn this into a nice outpost for a knight. I don't... Oh, one option. This is sort of a distant future. Rook over to c8. Knight to d3, forking their rooks. Pawn takes to remove the knight. Queen takes on c1, pinning their rook to their king. Ideally, rook takes, rook takes, and then we have back rank mate, because the only two squares they can't defend, they don't have more than one defender in a square. So I'm interested in that. Let's go ahead and reinforce this knight and see if maybe we can get that back rank mate. I think that would be pretty cool. Move my rook over to c8. I feel like I should have done this first. Maybe even I should have abandoned this a7 pawn to execute on this plan a little bit faster. So rook to c8. I guess to c8, we play knight over to d3 and their queen takes rather than their pawn, then we're just down a piece. So that doesn't feel good. Okay, so I think we drop our knight back. This doesn't seem to be working. Not the end of the world. Still have the opportunity to take here on d4, potentially adding another attacker with knight to f5. Let's do that next, I think. Knight to f5, threatening. Knight takes here, forking their queen and their knight. I think they would need to move a rook over, potentially, to mitigate that threat. I would like to get our rook over first to c8. C3, potentially a good move here. Reinforcing this d4 square, which I think is vulnerable. Good. Still got 3 defenders on this pawn. And then if we move our knight out to f5, that's 1 less defender, 2 less defenders. We move our knight out to f5, and then they move their rook over here. Can we do it then? No, I don't think so. Then they still have 2 defenders, and we only have 2 attackers. Yeah, so I think we need to target this d4 square. Let's try to put a little bit more pressure on the d4 square. Queen to c3. They add a defender to d4, which I think is wise. Let's go ahead and get our rook over. We can get 1 rook over to c8. Defend our queen a little bit, and maybe our other rook over to d8. This pawn doesn't really need any defense, does it? Could play b5 with the idea of going b4, take, supported by this knight here. That opens up the A file for operations, if that's something that we wanted. I don't know if that is something we want. Knight takes bishop. Oh, that's appealing. So if they try to do something clever, like if we do knight takes bishop, they do queen takes queen. Okay, what's this? Maybe they're trying to double their rooks in the E file for some reason. Or maybe they're trying to do a rook lift, get their knight over here. It's not a bad idea. But if we, let's see, I want to make sure this works. Play knight takes bishop, and they try to do something clever like queen takes queen. Then we have knight takes knight, check. They capture, and then we capture their queen. And then I think we get 2 minor pieces for the price of 1. Otherwise, knight takes knight. Bishop takes knight. Knight takes knight. Or knight takes bishop. Knight takes knight. And then what have we accomplished? Not much of anything, I don't think. do this. Oops. We could do this idea of b5, b4 first. Really, if they move their queen back to d2, they're still defending this bishop very effectively. I say we just clear out this bishop. Or actually, this is an option too. Knight to f5, hitting this rook. And then adding another attacker to the d4 square, because right now they have 1, 2. They would need to move their rook potentially to d3. Let's go ahead and take this. Sort of a lot of decent options, but nothing I'm really blown away by. If they want to take here, we'll take their knight. I think we're up a piece with check. And they don't have a way to capture back because their queen is all the way on c7. So that would be a critical mistake that I think would be, potentially easy to make. Oh, I'm sorry, buddy. All right. I think we take here with check. They take back, and then we get a queen. So we've traded. There we go. Now we're up a minor piece. They've got 2 rooks. We've got 2 rooks and a knight. Line up on the C file. Maybe push, back rank checkmate. It's like an appealing option. Knight out to g6, taking on e5 looks like a good option. Not sure what they're trying to accomplish. Maybe lining up on the d file with our very well defended pawn here. That's protected twice. Hoping for our opponent's sake to see h3, g3, f3, anything like that. Adding a defender is a good move. Potentially forkable squares, but I don't. Is this a worthwhile trade? Takes, and then they can escape. So that's not a good trade. Here I think we can push f6. Is there anything we want to do before pushing f6? f6 opens up sort of an escape hatch for our king, but also potentially weakens this nice defensive structure that we have. I don't see any threats that our opponent can make right off the bat. I guess we could play... Ooh. This might be more aggressive. Knight up to f4. Hitting their rook. No, because that removes the threat of knight takes on e5. So I think we have to play f6. If they take back. And then we can sort of push these pawns. This pawn on e6 becomes a weakness if they take, so they can potentially take here. I think this would be dangerous for them. If they take, we can threaten their rook, knight to f4, and then if they take again, we have knight to e2, forking their king and the rook. Which I would be happy to give away 2 pawns. Okay, that's a strong move. Mitigating this threat of our rooks doubled on the c file. We'll go ahead and push e6 to e5, addressing this weakness in our position. They double up their rooks. I think we push this pawn. Nice defensive structure here. We can't take effectively because we lose the trade. Well done from our opponent. Let's get our knight into the mix. Knight over to d3 looks decent. Well, I don't know about that actually. A lot of these ideas I'm coming up with involve sacrificing the knight, which I don't necessarily want to do. That's our critical advantage right now. Rook takes on c4, their rook takes back. Knight out to e2 check. They move. We take their rook. They take our other rook. So then it's a knight against a rook. That's a bad trade. So that doesn't work. Check. Takes back. Takes. That's just a rook trade and we lose a knight. I think we need to get our king in the mix. I don't see, since we both have doubled rooks, I don't see a good way to handle this situation. One option, king up to like e6 and then double our rooks over here on the g file, which is open, supported by your knight, which is hitting the g2 pawn. A good defensible position from our opponent, but they do need to be careful. I think, I think pushing d3 might be the end of things. We push here, they have to move maybe rook over to d2. Push, they move, or they can move down too. Well, if they move down, then we can fork them, and then that's game. Yeah, so let's do that. I think they move over here. We do our, oh, they move down. Oh, bad news for our opponent. Tough. That puts us up a full rook. I guess a full rook. We will have two rooks and they will have one. Yeah, opponent resigns. Couple of solid tactics in this game. I feel pretty good about that. Feels good to have another win after sort of the losing streak of your. Let's take a look. Start the review. Book moves, classic, caro-kann advance. This is all textbook. F3 is great. I'm glad that I played c5. That took a little bit of thought. Yep, takes. So I guess, yeah, if they had played queen to b5 check, I think the move is knight to d7. Yeah. Okay. Cool. Knights come out. Pretty even game for the most part. I think we both played very well. Castles is good. Knight takes c5. We take back with the queen. Drop our queen back to c7. Interesting. Offering a queen trade was the correct move there. I don't know if I like that. I like hanging on to my pieces a little bit more. Rook f to e1. Yep. Taking here would have been a good idea. I was preparing my sort of maneuver at this time, but taking would have been a strong move too. b4 is good. 3 is excellent. We support it. Drop back. They wanted us to get a different rook in line. That's fine. e3 is a mistake. 64 is a miss. So what? This is another one of those 4-move sequences that like maybe just wins you a pawn. I wonder. Let's see what happens. So rook comes out. Knight to f5 hitting the rook. This is something we identified. Knight to d3, supporting their weak d4 square. fx, or knight takes on d4, knight takes on d4, knight takes on e5, queen takes c7, take back, b3, and yeah, so we're up a pawn. So e3, allows our opponent to go pawn, making knight takes d4 a miss. Queen takes c7, the first sort of critical miss of the game. Knight takes f3 is a great move because we take with check, very importantly. We get our second minor piece, and we are up. Yeah. And then I think white defends very well. We both get our rooks doubled up. They push that c3 pawn. And then second critical miss of the game. c3, I don't think is good. I think rook to d2 was a better move. I mean, that is the best move according to the engine. But this is not, I mean, this allows that fork. Yeah, knight to e2 check, forking. You know, every valuable piece they have left on the board. It's pretty brutal. I guess, actually, rook to d2 doesn't prevent that. Oh, that's tough. Yeah, because our knight is supporting here, and then, or our pawn is supporting our knight here, so we take back, and then we're up another exchange. Geez. Yeah. So, really, as soon as we got up that minor piece, we're just in a much better position, and then this late game tactic was just icing on the cake. Cool. Feels pretty good. Good tactical game. Good caro-kann. Yeah, I think that's all for today. Have a good one.